Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the news tonight, where we get you the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilchi, and let's head straight to the headlines. The centre asked state governments to brace for contingency plans amid concerns over food production this year, assures preparedness for drought-like situations. Markets fall big for the second consecutive day. Sensex ends below 27,000 for the first time in 4 weeks. Rupee too trades weak against the dollar. The US and India signs key pacts as the US Secretary of Defense Ashton meets top ministers during his 3-day visit. The centre refers complaints against Nestle's Maggi to NCDRC after most states banned the product over high content of lead and MSG. And the US Senate passes the NSA surveillance bill curtailing the agency's power to collect phone records of Americans. Our top story this evening: with the forecast of monsoon rain revised downward, the government has directed states now to be ready with contingency plans. Experts feel deficient rains this year could hit Prime Minister Narendra Modi's plans to revive the economy. In fact, yesterday the Met Office member predicted deficient monsoon this year, triggering a fear of drought.
Already hit by an agrarian crisis and farmer suicides, there was more bad news for the country with predictions of a deficient monsoon this year. India suffered a delayed and deficient monsoon last year as well. With the prospects of a second year of poor monsoon, the government is treading cautiously. However, it assured that it's prepared for any drought-like situation.
इस संकट से निपटने के लिए हमारे पास आज भंडार भी है और जरूरत जैसा होगा हम उपाय करेंगे और राज्यों को जितनी जरूरत होगी हम उपलब्ध कराएंगे.
There could be in some areas is more rainfall, there could be some areas it is nil. So thereby we have already started identifying it localized level. That is generally is being done by Agriculture Ministry, which we have started coordinating. So each state government has to be ready to address that.
Projections of a weak monsoon have compounded worries of farmers. India's food grain production already plummeted 5% in 2014-15 from 265.04 million tons in the previous year because of 12% drop in seasonal monsoon showers. This year there is a similar prediction of deficient monsoon casting a shadow over growth in farm sector. It had registered a meager growth of just 0.2% in 2014-15 compared with 3.7% in 2013-14.
If you remember, when the industry had problem a few years ago, the government bailed out with a package of 2 lakh crore for the industry. Why can't you bail out package for your farmers? They are dying, they are committing suicide.
After dealing a hefty blow to the farming community, poor rains may snowball gloomily along the entire economy. A rise in food prices will trigger inflation, escalating interest rates, lagging industrial growth and impacting overall GDP numbers.
Economic revival has to take place. It has to come from rural areas, and the demand will pick up from the rural areas once the income goes in their hand, but they are in deep crisis, so the industry is duly worried for themselves as well as for the farmer.
India's upward growth trend was also hit due to poor monsoon concerns. RBI revised growth rate to this financial year to 7.6% instead of earlier estimate of 7.8%. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And the Indian stock markets closed today with big losses for a second straight day amid a crash in many mid-cap stocks. The Sensex closed below the psychological 27,000 levels for the first time since the 12th of May 2015. It fell as much as 490 points in intraday trade, ending at 26,837. Nifty too declined as much as 140 points, settling at 8,135. The rupee ended weaker by 8 paise and 63 rupees 90 paise against the dollar. Now, this is the second straight day of big sell-off in domestic equity markets. On Tuesday, the Sensex had crashed 700 points in intraday trade after the RBI lowered its growth estimate for the current year and raised inflation target to 6%. The downgrade in monsoon forecast also spooked the stock markets. In other news now, US Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter met Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defense Minister Manohar Parrikar and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj today in the capital. The US and the two sides signed key pacts during Carter's first visit as the Defense Secretary. The two countries will jointly develop protective gear for soldiers against biological or chemical warfare and on building generators.
US Defense Secretary Ashton Carter is in Delhi for 3 days to renew a 10-year defense framework agreement between the countries. He met Prime Minister Narendra Modi, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj on Wednesday. He also met Defense Minister Manohar Parrikar in the afternoon at the South Block. Ahead of the meeting, Parrikar raised concern over US's arms sale to Pakistan. Pakistan and the US moved closer to a $1 billion defense deal in April this year to supply helicopters and missiles to sharpen up Pakistan's counter-terrorism efforts.
I'll not comment on specific, but any arms sale to Pakistan is a concern to India.
Leading a high-level delegation, this is Carter's first visit to India as Secretary of Defense. He was given a guard of honor at the South Block before he paid tributes at the War Memorial at India Gate. He had earlier visited India in September 2013 and July 2012 as Deputy Secretary of Defense. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
For more on this, let's speak to Sushant Sareen, who is a strategic affairs analyst, joining us on the news tonight from the capital. Mr. Sareen, if you can hear me, just give us a sense really of the meetings that are being held between Ashton Carter and especially Manohar Parrikar, because what we are reading up, what we are hearing from experts is that if Modi and Obama set the right tone, set the right setting, the definitive work really is in the hands of Ashton Carter and Manohar Parrikar.
No, I think this is a very crucial visit, partly because Mr. Carter is one of the American officials, top American officials, who has been plugging for closer defense cooperation with India, even when he was not defense secretary, and in a sense he's been instrumental in this closeness, this growing closeness in the defense sector between India and the US, including the much appreciated Defense Trade and Technology Initiative. So I think his being the Defense Secretary in the US is a unique opportunity for India to give a fillip to this very important relationship, defense relationship which we have with the Americans. Why it is also important to have a very candid conversation with him is that we apart from the various areas in which we have what I might call strategic convergence, there are growing areas where we have a strategic divergence. And as your report mentions, Pakistan is one of those, Afghanistan is another one. The fact that the Americans have been supplying the Pakistanis with equipment which ostensibly is for anti-terrorist operations, but since we know that the terrorists in Pakistan neither have an air force nor have a navy to give them missile systems which are air-to-air missiles or air-to-sea missiles, really doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really add up. So I think there are very important areas in which we need to engage with the Americans. China, of course, being another one, but the larger, in the larger context, both on the maritime field as well as in the defense manufacturing field, there are enormous areas in which the two countries need to engage each other.
You mentioned the DTTI, of course, initiative. To Modi's credit, the government's credit, more meetings, in fact, have been taken place on DTTI between the two sides in the past year than we've actually seen in the last 3 years. That's, of course, one, that is going to be go in the Modi government's favor. But apart from that, also speaking on the perspective of the Obama administrative, the government elections are around the corner, and before, Obama's term ends, vis-a-vis India, they would like to seal some crucial deals as far as, defense relations are concerned.
Frankly, I wouldn't go too much into how much time President Obama has left, and that by next year he becomes a bit of a lame duck. in international relations, the US president remains important as long as he's in office. That's point number one. And more importantly, as far as relations with India is concerned, there is a general bipartisan consensus among the two main parties in the US on relations with India. So even if there's a Republican president after the next elections or another Democratic president, I don't think this relationship is going to actually go down in the priority order. But what is important is that in the next year and a half, while Mr. Carter is there and you have other people who, if I might use the word, Indophiles in the American administration, if we can get into a much closer relationship, I think it'll augur well for the future of cooperation between the two sides. And we, whether we like it or not, the Americans are leaders in technology. They are the sole superpower in the world, and at least for the foreseeable future are likely to remain the most important power in the world.
Yes.
I think a closer relationship with the Americans works in India's favor.
All right, Mr. Sushant Sareen, thanks so much for joining us and giving us those details. You know, what we can expect of the Ashton Carter visit, and of course in the year to come. Thank you. Meanwhile, in a rare move, the government has filed a complaint with the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission, or the NCDRC, against Nestle India. This is a huge blow to the instant noodle maker, already troubled by several states banning the sale of Maggi.
The centre has termed alleged lapses related to food safety standards in Maggi Noodles as a serious issue. After filing a complaint with NCDRC, the government said that the commission will investigate the matter and take appropriate action.
पहले हम लोगों ने FSSAI से कहा, बाद में क्या कहते हैं कि हमको लगा कि यदि रिपोर्ट आने में सब जगह से देरी लगेगी, नेशनल कमीशन को स्वयं क्या कहते हैं कि हस्तक्षेप करेंगे, इसकी जांच करनी चाहिए.
Central Food Safety Regulator FSSAI has taken samples of Maggi Noodles from all states for testing. The FSSAI Act provides for a fine of up to 5 lakh rupees and imprisonment of up to 6 years in case of grievous injury to the customer, while the imprisonment would be minimum 10 years and fine of not less than 10 lakh rupees in case of death.
The FSSAI is going to take a complete picture after getting the reports from all the states. That is what we are waiting for, and we have asked them to send the reports as soon as possible.
Earlier on Wednesday, the Delhi government banned Maggi from government outlets for 15 days. A fresh decision will be taken after rechecking new samples.
दिल्ली सरकार ने लगभग 13 सैंपल उठवाए थे, जिसमें 13 में से 10 सैंपल्स के अंदर लेड की क्वांटिटी बहुत ज्यादा पाई गई है और सरकार आज मीटिंग बुला रही है, उसके ऊपर एक्शन लिया जाएगा. आज से कानूनी कार्रवाई स्टार्ट कर दी जाएगी. देखिए, ये प्रोसीजर होता है, अगर कोई भी सैंपल फेल होता है तो उसका जो भी कानूनी प्रक्रिया है उस पूरी प्रक्रिया का पालन करते हुए कोर्ट में केस किया जाएगा.
Meanwhile, actor Amitabh Bachchan has said he will cooperate with whatever the law says. This after a court order registration of an FIR against him and other actors for promoting the brand.
अभी तक I have not received any notice. As soon as I will get it, I will put it up to my lawyers and we will fully cooperate with whatever the law says. I want to also add that, I stopped endorsing Maggi 2 years ago.
The controversy affected the shares of Nestle India that slumped over 10% on Wednesday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, a Delhi court on Wednesday directed the CBI to reveal the action taken against Congress leader Jagdish Tytler with respect to a closure report filed by the agency in the 1984 Sikh rights case. Advocate H.S. Fulka, who is representing rights victims, apprised the court that businessman Abhishek Verma had told the CBI that Tytler had allegedly struck a deal with a prime witness in the case. The CBI has also recorded the statement of Bollywood actor Amitabh Bachchan in that case.
In the closure report filed by the CBI, it clearly shows that the CBI has got the evidence of two another very serious offences which the Tytler has committed. One is the report says that Tytler has contacted the witnesses, influenced the witnesses, paid the money to the witnesses. The other evidence which has come that the Tytler sent 5 crore rupees by Hawala from here to Canada to his sister. Now this is a clear second offences under Money Laundering Act and a Hawala transaction. So these are the two clear offences which has come out in the report of the CBI, and they are different and apart from the murder of those 3 Sikhs.
With that, let's take a look at other national news updates. An Indian Air Force fighter aircraft crashed into Odisha's Mayurbhanj district today. However, no one was injured as both the pilots ejected safely. fire tenders were rushed to the site to douse the flames. The cause of the crash has not been ascertained as yet. The Supreme Court has stayed the declaration of the results of the All India Pre-Medical Test for admission to the MBBS course till the 9th of June. The Apex Court asked CBSE not to declare the results as Haryana Police was probing the leak of the examination paper. The result was to be declared on the 5th of June. A major fire broke out in West Delhi's Punjabi Bagh area today after an oil tanker caught fire. The fire also spread to a nearby warehouse. Several fire tenders were rushed to the spot to douse the blaze. There was no immediate report of any casualty in the incident. With a quick break here, but still ahead, President Pranab Mukherjee arrives in Belarus on a 2-day visit as the first Indian head of state. And top-seeded Sania Mirza and her Swiss partner Martina Hingis crash out of the French Open women's doubles. Details ahead.
Why are the green activists still saying that this ministry is still working for the industry?
No, unfortunately, there are some people have monopolized the space of activism.
Senior BJP ideologues like Arun Shourie, they say that the NDA government is all about a Trimurti. It's the Prime Minister, Arun Jaitley and Amit Shah who are governing the entire party and the government.
I say only two things. It's BJP, because he is in BJP he can say so. Nobody can say this for Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi in Congress.
Watch to the point with Union Minister Prakash Javadekar only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, President Pranab Mukherjee arrived in Belarus's capital Minsk on Wednesday on a 2-day visit to enhance bilateral ties. This is the first visit by an Indian head of state to Belarus. The president met with his counterpart, President A.G. Lukashenko, on arrival. The two head of states discussed a host of issues, including boosting of trade ties and cooperation in the field of mining and education. In Minsk, the president will address a joint business conference with his counterpart, Alexander Lukashenko. Mukherjee's visit comes at a time when Delhi and Minsk are in the process of finalizing a joint roadmap to expanding cooperation in sectors including industry, information technology, education and culture. Meanwhile, Pakistan has rejected India's stand on the upcoming polls in Gilgit and Baltistan, terming it an interference in the country's internal affairs. Yesterday, India had reacted strongly to the 8th of June polls. What's more, the Pakistani army chief added fuel to fire by saying that Pakistan and Kashmir are inseparable.
On Tuesday, India had objected to polls in POK as an attempt by Pakistan to camouflage its forced illegal occupation of the region. Islamabad retorted on Wednesday, asserting it is Pakistan's internal affair. Its foreign office accused India of undermining the UN resolution, calling the Kashmir issue an internationally recognized dispute. As the war of words continue, Pak Army Chief Raheel Sharif's remark on Kashmir issue has sparked sharp reactions from the centre. The Pak general termed the issue as an unfinished agenda since the partition. The government has also stood firmly against the polls in the POK region.
The history is well known. I don't want to respond to this statement because I don't want to give value to this kind of unwanted state. The External Affairs Ministry has made a statement very categorically clear that Pakistan activities in POK is illegal.
A statement of Pakistan Army Chief is indeed shocking. I think Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji and his government must take note of such provocative statements that are made by Pakistan on a daily basis, interfering with the internal affairs of India.
On Tuesday, India had claimed that the people of the region have become victims of sectarian conflict, terrorism and extreme economic hardship due to Pakistan's occupationary policies. It also objected to the fact that a Pakistani cabinet minister was made the governor of the region recently. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
After a week-long showdown, the U.S. Senate has passed the NSA surveillance bill. Senators voted 67-32 in favor of the bill to pass the USA Freedom Act. Hours later, U.S. President Barack Obama signed the bill into law. The new bill seeks to end the bulk collection of Americans' phone records.
The US National Security Agency will not be able to collect phone records anymore. This after the US Senate passed the NSA surveillance bill, ushering in country's most significant surveillance reform since 1978. Senators voted 67-32 to pass the USA Freedom Act. Hours later, the US President Barack Obama signed the legislation.
My advice is to take this bill and pass it and send it to the President to keep America safe.
Now telecom companies will assume responsibility of the phone records collection program. The new surveillance bill will replace the old one with a more targeted system. The bill limits other types of data collection as well, adding transparency measures, and places a new expert panel at the Secretive Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. They will oversee intelligence activities. The USA Freedom Act came more than 36 hours after 3 parts of the Patriot Act expired, forcing the NSA to wind up its bulk collection of US phone data. NSA now has about 6 months to stop sweeping up phone metadata. Significantly, the bill has been passed exactly 2 years after the NSA contractor Edward Snowden's controversial revelations on WikiLeaks. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, nearly 48 hours after a ferry carrying 458 people capsized in the Yangtze River in China, hopes are fading of finding more survivors, even as teams continue rescue efforts in and around the ill-fated vessel. Only 14 people have been rescued so far.
Hope fades as time runs out. Scores of divers and frogmen search the overturned Eastern Star for any sign of life and the area around it. Underwater video cameras, color image sonars and other rescue tools have been deployed. Heavy silt in the waters and complete darkness within the submerged vessel slows the process down.
从目前的这整个救援来讲的话，我们主要是分2部分，一部分呢就是这个沉船在江中的这个救援，以长江海事局为主，在交通部的直接领导下，因为这一个救援呢。
On land, family members of passengers and crew await information on near and dear ones, still hoping against hope. Depression and tragedy frequently giving rise to anger and confrontation.
把你们每个人的信息我们都跟他记的，我们公司这有一点情况。
旅客名单还是通过网络搜索知道，然后呢，我们希望政府能给我们一个名单，让我们知道一下是生是死，我们都希望知道一下。
This is CCTV footage recorded by a passing ship showing the last minutes of the Eastern Star. Lightning and heavy rain could be seen on the footage. Meteorologists have also confirmed that a sudden, strong and violent storm hit the area on the day of the tragedy. Officials say the disaster could be China's worst shipping accident in nearly 70 years, with the final death toll expected to shoot up sharply. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you some more international news and updates in Global Buzz. A high-ranking Thai general accused of involvement in human trafficking has surrendered to authorities. 3-star Lieutenant General Manus Kongpan arrived at the National Police Headquarters in Bangkok in his uniform. He denies all charges. A total of 84 arrest warrants have been issued over human trafficking, a business that Thailand has reportedly done little to stop. Warplanes from a military coalition led by Saudi Arabia carried out airstrikes in Yemen, killing at least 16 fighters allied with the Saudi-led group. The victims were fighters supporting President Mansour Hadi. The Saudi-led coalition began airstrikes in Yemen in March this year in a campaign to restore Yemeni President Hadi to power. The U.S. State Department has said that surgery to repair the broken leg of Secretary of State John Kerry went well. The White House said it was too early to assess the impact of Kerry's injury on the timing and location of the ongoing Iran nuclear talks. The U.S. and 5 other world powers have a 30th of June deadline to reach the deal with Iran. The Large Hadron Collider has restarted scientific investigations after a 2-year pause. Scientists are waiting for the first new data to begin flowing from the underground particle smasher, paving the way to a new era in physics. On Wednesday, the vast machine clattered proton beams together at much higher energies than were achieved during its first run between 2010 and 2013. And changing tracks, let's get you all the sporting action in Sports Beat. World number 1 Saina Nehwal disposed of Thailand's Nichaon Jindaporn's challenge in straight games at the Indonesian Open Super Series badminton tournament. Saina got the better of a Thai opponent in 35 minutes. Meanwhile, in the men's singles, P. Kashyap overcame Thailand's Tanongsak in just 29 minutes to advance into the second round. Kashyap next faces 5th-seeded Korean Won Ho-son. In tennis, women's doubles top seed Sania Mirza and her partner Martina Hingis of Switzerland crashed out of the French Open. The duo was defeated by the pair of Matic Sands and Safarova in the quarterfinals. The Indo-Swiss team lost in straight sets. In the men's singles, second-seeded Roger Federer crashed out after a straight-set defeat to Stanislas Wawrinka in the quarterfinals. Wawrinka will meet home favourite Joe Wilfried Tsonga in the semi-finals following his win over Kei Nishikori. In the women's singles, 7th-seeded Anna Ivanovic reached the semi-finals after brushing aside Ukraine's Elina Svitolina. Ivanovic will now face Lucy Safarova for a place in the final after she defeated Garbine Muruguza 7-6, 6-3. The New York Cosmos dominated Cuba 4-1 on Tuesday in a soccer friendly meant to promote better relations between the US and Cuba. The Cuban national team disappointed against a club from the second-tier North American Soccer League, falling behind 4-0 in the first half. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight from the entire team here. Good night.